red. Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Discuss the latest news, just fans giving their views. This channel is red. They see the bar and raise it, plus they rep for the ladies. Trust it's red. Female voices in football. Red. If you want to talk up, it's a red channel for me and you. Subscribe and tune in to the Ladies in Red.
Hi guys, welcome back to Ladies in Red. We're smiling after yesterday. At half time, I wasn't quite sure I would be, but yeah, we're smiling. And I'm joined by two amazing guests. I've got Maisie making a debut. Mais, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? And thank you as well for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. I apologise it's taken so long to get you on, but I'm glad to finally have you here. And I'm doing good. And of course, we've got Alice Talks Footy. Alice, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you, Sophie. Once again, thanks for having me back on the channel. How are you doing? Absolute
pleasure as always. And yeah, I'm doing good. Good, better than like I felt at half time yesterday. Going into and after the Leicester game as well. We kept screaming we needed a bounce back. We definitely got that in the second half. I mean, we'll recap that firstly. Yeah, Old Trafford was obviously bouncing. Ollie spoke at the end saying there's a bit of grumbles at half time. We're in the first half, but then obviously the Red Army cheered them along and he thanked the fans for that, for staying with him. Yeah, that performance. I mean, Mais, I'll start with you. How do you summarise that?
The game, it was just an absolute roller coaster. We conceded such an early goal as well, and then we conceded again before half time. I was watching, I was thinking, wow, how are we going against Liverpool if we're playing like this against Atalanta? It's just going to be literally impossible, especially with the amount of space we had in midfield as well, and knowing Fred, it's just they just don't really work. But if they played with somebody else, they're even worse. So when it came back to the second half, I just thought something must have happened in that dressing room. I just wondered, was it Ollie who had them words, or was it Ronaldo maybe, because you can tell when we concede as well, you see the anger on Ronaldo, you see the anger on Bruno as well. So it makes me wonder if it was maybe one of them who's influenced the team, or if it was Ollie who was very unhappy as well, more than likely too. We didn't really see much of his reaction on the first half, but maybe he just covers that and goes into the dressing room and says something. But we just came back and we was literally completely different. The passing, it fixed up a lot as well, and that is something what does need to improve on, especially when it does come to Sunday's game. Yeah. We scored them couple of goals what were crucial as well, and overall I just felt like I was having a little mini heart attack, but then near the end I was like, yes, I'm so happy.
Yeah, I mean, half time, down in the dumps, listening to Scholes rip into the team and whatnot. And obviously did it again at full time, and fair play, I have to say, I agree with what was said. But yeah, Alex, when we were 2-0 down, did you have a feeling that we were going to turn it round, or were you dreading it, thinking this is going to be embarrassing?
I always had a bit of a hunch because, second half FC we were last season. We did it to Southampton and we were 2-0 down. And there was a part of me that was like, could it be like Mourinho's Newcastle game? Just before Mourinho got sacked, we all thought it was getting sacked versus Newcastle. We turned it around. There's part of me doing that, but the other part of me was like, he's getting sacked tomorrow. I literally just saying it. I was like, he's getting sacked tomorrow. I was sitting there. I was like, I think this would be a really big test. I think if we do turn it around, it will prove that the players are playing for Ollie. And I've been convinced since Pogba's comments that Ollie had lost the dressing room, since Pogba's comments about something needs to change. Yeah. Says, I've been convinced that we lost the dressing room, whereas now I feel like he hasn't lost the dressing room yet. So because I thought he'd lost the dressing room, I was like, I don't know if we'd turn this around. But then I looked at what Maisie was saying, at Bruno, at Ronaldo, their frustration. I'm like, we've got the ability on the pitch. We've got so many natural born leaders. And also at half time, Fred and Rashford could have made it 2-0 if they'd scored their chance before the half. Atalanta play a bit like Leeds. They were wide open at the back. And I just thought, we should be better in the second half. Second half FC. If the players do care and if they want to win, I think they'll win. And there was a part of me that I had a feeling we might get back into it. I just thought Atalanta at the back were just crap. I just thought all it needed is a goal in the first sort of 15 minutes of the second half in game on.
Yeah. And I think Maisie touched on it as well. Our passing was a lot sharper, especially in that second half. Mm-hmm. And even in the first half, we saw glimpses of that space in behind their defence. Like, you knew there was space for us to run into. And obviously, Bruno's little flick around the corner, I don't think that's really been talked about enough because of the whole Ronaldo, obviously, show at the end. But that little flip round the corner for Rashford, like what a goal that
Beautiful.
was, what a pass. It was perfect, wasn't it? Yeah, that little emoji. I did retweet a tweet earlier saying that pass and that emoji because it was just beautiful. And he tried one slightly earlier in the first half where he flicked around the corner to Fred, and obviously Fred just put it past the post. But yeah, Bruno, even though he can be frustrating at times, I mean, he gave the ball away a lot. He's always got that moment in him, hasn't he, where he can just pull something out of the bag. And it was great to see Rashford scoring yet again as well. Obviously, he came on against Leicester and scored, and he scored again. That did wonders for his confidence. But obviously, Atalanta, you said they play a bit like Leeds, and I said beforehand, if they come out like that, I felt like we would score goals, and I felt confident about that. And I'm just glad that we did take some of those chances because it felt like, especially after the first half and early second half when we were missing these chances, obviously Rashford hitting the bar and whatnot, I was just thinking, is it going to be one of them nights? One of them nights where we regret not taking our chances. And luckily, it wasn't the case, but obviously it could have quite easily been the case. And obviously we're back to the Premier League, Liverpool at the weekend, and I'm sure it's going to be a completely different story. And we will give a little prediction for that in a minute as well. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it seems to be the hot topic at the minute. Everyone keeps talking about him. We know what it's like. If he loses a game, there's a major reaction. If he wins a game, there's a major reaction. A lot of people are obviously undecided on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Is he good enough to do the job at Manchester United? I haven't spoken to you two yet regards to your feelings on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So I'm going to come out and just ask you, are you Ole in? Are you Ole out? What's your feelings on it? And I'll start with you, Alice, on this one. Like, how are you feeling regarding Ole as manager? You can be honest.
I am Ole out. Despite the win yesterday, I will stick with Ole out. I've been Ole in for quite a while. Like, I was Ole in all of last season. Even when we lost the Europa League final, I was like, I'm just going to give him the summer, see what we do and see how we come out. And I was very much like, if we continue to play Fred, if we continue to play this negative football, if we continue to not improve from last season, then I will be Ole out. I thought maybe Southampton was a blip. You know, I let that one off. I wasn't particularly happy versus Young Boys. I let that one off. And then I think it was just sort of Everton, Aston Villa. And that was when I'm like, I can't beat Ole in anymore. Like, you know, I just physically can't. I just think I want him to prove me wrong. I want him to go beat Liverpool, City, Spurs, go on a 10-game winning streak and prove me wrong. But I just look at the coach, I look at Ole, I look at the squad we have. And I think it's more for me, like, we beat Villarreal, but we got outplayed by a Villarreal side at home. We got outplayed by Aston Villa at home. We just don't play like a team. And I think one of the pundits said that United just play like 11 individuals and, they hit the nail on the head. And I just think, look at Chelsea, they play as a team. Look at Liverpool, they play as a team. Brentford, Brighton, they all play better than us. So for me, it's very much like I just believe another manager would get the best out of the squad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got an amazing squad, no doubt about it. We've invested well in the summer transfer window. A lot of people think we might go get a CDM in the January transfer window. I would like that to happen. I think we've been screaming out for that CDM for a long, long time. But Mais, after these investments, do you think there is obviously added pressure on Ole now? And do you think it is a time where, if he doesn't get, obviously you've got a tough set of results, performances to come now, tough games coming up, we need to perform, we need to get some goals, we need to try and keep some clean sheets because we've been leaking far too much for my liking. Yeah, if he doesn't have a good run of results, do you think he's in trouble?
Yeah, 100% I think he's in trouble. Differences compared to last season, we actually have done well in the transfer window because a lot of people do say, oh, Ole hasn't been backed by the board, this is why we aren't getting these results, this is why we're not winning the league. But he's been backed this season. He got the best player in the world. He's got Varane, who's a serial winner. He's got Sancho, who has got the ability to be a world-class player in the future if he does pick up his form in the Premier League. But then you think with Ole, what his problem is, he's got such a big squad, good squad with him at the moment because he's got such good players. It's like he's not too sure what to do with it, where he's going to do, who's he going to put on, who does he think is best for the team. And you do look at that and you think it is a bit of a concern because you do look at like players such as Rashford has come back and I'm glad he has played, but then you look at Sancho, he hasn't even had that much opportunity to play on the right, and this is why we bought him, to be as a right winger. I understand Rashford's been injured, but at the same time, why not try Greenwood on the left? Because Greenwood's good on both his feet. So you could always try Greenwood on the left, or if it was really that much of an issue, you could always put Ronaldo on the left or Cavani on the left, because both of them have the ability to both play on the left as well. For me, I was one of them. I was thinking, I was the exact same as Alice. I was thinking, right, I'm Ole in. Yeah, he's brought in some players, and you do look at the players, and he's wanted Sancho, he's wanted loads of different players what he hasn't really had, and you do think, oh, we'll give him that little bit of leeway. He's got us to the final of the Europa League. It happens, we do lose a final, but then when it comes to this season, the expectations, say if it was here last season, it would be from the roof now, because especially when you've got Varane and Ronaldo in the team, because they just raise them expectations on a whole new level, knowing that they're such an amazing players, and he isn't getting the best out of the squad, and that is the problem. And we're losing these results where we should be winning. We should be winning against Aston Villa. We should be winning against Leicester City. We should be getting a better result out of Everton as well. And it's just really upsetting, because I do love Ole. But then you do look at it and think, yeah, he's built a very good team, but is that enough for him to get us any further than this? Is he going to win us the Premier League in 2-3 years? Is he going to get us to a cup cup final this season and to win it? And right now, when I look at it and look at the results we've had in the past, I really don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, we don't know. We don't know what United is going to turn up week in, week out. We haven't had that consistency. All we've had this season, if you're honest, is consistently poor performances. We've got a few lucky results, but the performances haven't been good enough. And you know what? I can't remember the last time I could say we had a 90 minutes of a quality performance. I think we might have like a good spell in the game, or like yesterday we had a great second half. And Alice said it earlier, the second half FC for a long time. Where we had like a 90 minutes where we've consistently, do you know what I mean, dominated a game. Like, it's been quite few and far between, hasn't it? It's been quite rare. And look, a lot of people know my opinions. I've always been Ole in. I've never really wanted to slate the manager and say manager out, Ole out, whoever it is. But I'm not blind to the fact that the performances haven't been good enough. And like I say, this is Manchester United. And you mentioned earlier, Ronaldo coming in, Varane coming in. We should be competitors. We should be contenders for that title. And our performances, like I've said, just haven't been good enough. And if there isn't change sharpish, then he's going to be in trouble, and rightly so. Like, I believe that after what he spent in the window, quite frankly, it was make or break this season for Ole, and I said that from the off. And obviously, like I say, performances firstly need to improve, especially in the league. And what a better way to start it against Liverpool at the weekend. Curler said here, the Scholes comment about the shape last night in the midfield was nailed on. There were two guys in no man's land for 45 minutes that did nothing for the defence or attack. Obviously, Scholes went on to say as well, yeah, good result for United, a great comeback and whatnot, and great atmosphere at Old Trafford. But you can't play like that. If we play like that, especially in that first half against Liverpool, we're going to be absolutely battered. Alice, Salah is on absolute fire at the minute. Do you fear that? Do you fear that United turn up in that first half? The game could be out of reach by the second half. Second half FC is going to be irrelevant because the game's going to be too far gone. We need to start quick against Liverpool, don't we?
Oh, they could embarrass us. Like, you know, you don't know with United, because I'm with a team that will lose to Sheffield United and will go beat Man City. You just don't know what United's going to show up. But Liverpool, I think, have scored 3+ goals in their last 8 away games. And they're going to an Old Trafford where Man United have kept one clean sheet all season. We haven't kept a clean sheet in the Premier League at home in Old Trafford in the last 9 games. And Liverpool could make it 9 away games in a row, scoring 3+ goals if they get 3 past us. There's no Varane. You know, Maguire's looking shaky. Lindelof and Maguire, we know that that's not the best partnership in the world. You know, we play McTominay and Fred for the defensive protection, and you know if they're fit, they're going to play versus Liverpool. You know that's what he's going to do. They don't protect the defense. They run, like, you know, we haven't kept many clean sheets. I'm generally, it's hard because United could, because it's Liverpool, United could actually have a really, really good game, and Ole could save his job. You know, Ole's job's on the line. I think if you get embarrassed by Liverpool, Ole would be looking to get sacked. But then they also go Mo Salah. How good have Liverpool been? You know, if we're getting outplayed by a Villarreal side, if we're dropping points to an Everton without Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, if we're getting outplayed by Villa, even when we're winning like Wolves, we got outplayed. You know, De Gea is the reason we're not in like the relegation zone. It feels like, you know, you know, our form, as bad as it sounds, has been almost relegation form in the sense of, like, you know, the points we've been dropping and stuff. You know, I think it was 2 wins in our last 7 games. It's not been brilliant, and I just think they could absolutely embarrass us. But it's at home. I think the fans surely can't let that happen. I think the players can't let that happen. I think we have a mentality in the squad where I think if you go 2-0 down, hopefully we do what Atletico Madrid did and, you know, make it an interesting game. But it could be like the Liverpool, you know, when Mourinho got sacked, where they just completely outplay us. I said that I think it could be one of those games.
Yeah, look, I'm there at Old Trafford on Sunday. I don't know how to feel about it at the minute. Obviously, I'm happy to be at Old Trafford, but obviously the game ahead, I'm thinking, oh God, like I don't know how to feel about it. It's just one of them. It's one of them. Louis said, "Where's the Rashford shirt?" I was just looking. It should be here somewhere under this like pile of shirts that I have got. I will have a look in a minute. I have got the Rashford shirt. 2-2. Yep, like he's never left. And I'm buzzing to see him scoring again. Obviously, he missed a few chances as well. A few of them were offside and stuff as well, of course. But it's great having Rashford back, isn't it? Mais, do you think he's a player that we really missed?
Yeah, Rashford for me is definitely a player who we have really missed. He's got that bit of pace about him. Something what Sancho hasn't done this season, what Rashford is very good at doing, he does take on them defenders, and we haven't really seen too much of that with Sancho. And for me, it feels like maybe Sancho's lacking that bit of confidence. So, and he just passes it back to Shaw. You've seen that especially in the Leicester game. But for Rashford, he always takes on them defenders to try and get in, dribble it around so he can try and score or to try and pass it to the striker. And that is something especially that we do really miss and what can really help us as well. When it got to the end of last season, I was getting a little bit annoyed about it because I was thinking, right, he keeps doing this, he's losing this ball, and we're conceding goals because of this. But for this season, it's just like we're not being brave enough. And Rashford's one of them players who do take them risks, who is a little bit brave. And I feel like we definitely have been missing him. And he has been looking very, very sharp so far this season. When he did play against Leicester, he come on, he looked very sharp. But I think he came on a little bit too late for me. I would have subbed him on half time. I know, and for me as well, it was a good choice in starting as well because I thought he was one of our better players in the first half. He was trying to do his best to try and score and to try and get up the pitch as well to counter attack because that's what we was looking like, a counter attacking team. So his pace really does hurt defenders, and if we do keep him on form, he is going to be a player who opposition teams are going to be really scared about.
Yeah, I mean his pace when he runs at a player is almost unplayable on his day, Rashford. And I think with his injury and whatnot, we just never really saw that. A lot of people saying, "Oh, he shouldn't play on the right hand side; he's better on the left, cutting in and whatnot." But yeah, it wasn't really hitting that form, and I just hope that obviously 2-2 that you get confidence off that, and we can to the old Rashford, the one that we know he's capable of bringing out. A lot of people are saying that since he's been back, we've been playing a lot more long balls. I don't mind that to an extent against teams like Atalanta, where there's going to be a lot of space in behind the defence. Like Rashford, he's not the most clinical. I agree with that, but he will score one eventually. And I think if he keeps getting in those areas, he does make the runs. He does try and get into those positions. Like you say, defenders are going to be looking over the shoulder. It gives us something a bit different. I think far too often you see us playing against low blocks where we're playing in front and we can't break teams down. It's quite nice to have a bit of space in behind every now and again, and having someone like Rashford who can run onto it. But yeah, in terms of Rashford, like obviously he came off. A lot of people thought he might have been injured yesterday and whatnot. Do you guys see him starting again against Liverpool, coming obviously back from his injury? Obviously played against Leicester, played midweek. Is he ready, do you think, to play again against Liverpool? Like that's quite a big ask, isn't it, Alex? What's your thought?
I think Ollie will want to play him because you know what Ollie's like. Rashford, McTominay, and Maguire are like Ollie's three players. Like if they're fit or even if they're injured, like Ollie won't drop McTominay. Ollie won't drop Maguire, Rashford, McTominay. They're his three favourites, I think. You know, even when they're injured, he'll play them. Like he subbed on an injured McTominay. He played Rashford with injury last season. He played Maguire with injury. I think this is the thing. I feel like the Liverpool game would be a really good game for Rashford, like if he's fit, because I think with Liverpool it is going to be counter-attack FC. And I think one of the reasons we struggle this season is we haven't been as clinical in the counter-attack this season as we were last season when we had the opportunities, because Rashford has that blistering pace. Like Greenwood and Sancho and Ronaldo are quick, but Rashford has that blistering pace. And when you actually look at United's game, when you look at the long balls, the threat in behind is Rashford. You know, he is the threat in behind, way more than Greenwood, way more than Sancho, way more than Ronaldo. Rashford's always been the one that gets in behind and scores those goals. We saw it versus Atalanta. And I think, you know, against Liverpool, I think Liverpool are going to believe that they can win this game, looking at the form they're in, look at the form we're in, they're going to go and attack us. And they are going to probably leave space in behind. And if we can move the ball quickly and counter-attack, then you need Rashford for it. But at the end of the day, you know, Rashford's only just come back from injury. You can't start him for 2 games. Even though he's only played 60 minutes, I just feel like, you know, unless you want him to get injured again, he can't start him just because I feel like he's at risk of getting injured. He might not be 100% fit. I think I would actually, as much as I think this is a game Rashford should start, because he played best at Atalanta, I'd actually have Rashford on the bench and bring him on if we need him. I think for me, you know, I think Fred might be out actually because he picked up an injury towards the end of the game. For me, I think you've got to go with Sancho and Greenwood on the wings and just hope that they can unlock with their pace. And then if we need Rashford, bring it on. But I think it's a bit of a risk.
So would you play Pogba in the midfield then if Fred is out?
Yeah, I play Pogba in the midfield. I quite like to. I know this is not going to happen, but I think Donny looks a little bit better defensively than Pogba. You know, he's bulked up and we haven't seen much of him. But I actually thought when he played next to Fred, he looked better than Fred defensively. I think he's better defensively than McTominay in a weird way. I'd actually really like to see Matic and Donny play, but I know that's not going to happen. I'd really like to see it, but I'd probably play Pogba in the middle, I think, if Fred's out.
Yeah. Pogba's a funny one because I actually feel when he plays it on that left-hand side as well, I think we've seen a few performances where actually he's been really effective because he's not obviously out-and-out winger. He likes the drift, he comes to the side and he creates a bit of space on the overlap for sure. So I wouldn't really be too against the idea of Pogba playing out on that left as well and then probably going for a bit more of a secure, obviously, partnership in that middle. Maybe, I don't know, Matic in there would be great. McTominay, obviously, we've already mentioned. I would love to see Donny. But I just can't see it happening. My ideal midfield would be Donny and Matic, to be honest. That would be my ideal combination in midfield. But like you say, it's very unlikely we'll see it. But yeah, going into that game, Maisie, like where would you see Pogba? Do you think Pogba starts? Obviously, he didn't start the game midweek, but surely he starts against Liverpool.
100%. I think Pogba will start because, especially when it's a big game like Liverpool, Ole is going to want to go all out and put a very strong squad out, and I think that's probably maybe why Pogba, he might have been getting that rested for the Liverpool game. I think maybe, in my opinion, especially after the performance from Leicester, he probably wanted to give him this break in the Champions League and let him rest up for the Liverpool game, knowing how big the Liverpool game is. For me, I would prefer Pogba to be in the midfield than on the left because I know sometimes he is that effective on the left. However, but in games like Liverpool, I don't think he will be that effective, and I think we need two proper wins both sides. For example, we are gonna counter attack, or just because we need that little bit of speed, knowing how well the Liverpool defenders are, because they've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, they've got Robertson, they've got Van Dijk. 3 of them are very good defenders, and we need to be very careful. I know Pogba is very strong and he is good on his feet, but as a central midfielder, I think he'll be better off in that position for that game. I think he's better off like in games where the defenders are not as quick as I'd say Liverpool. So like Leeds, he was very effective for that. He would be effective maybe in other games as well, but for me, I just don't think he should play on the left, and I think he should play on that midfield. And Rashford, for me, he may potentially start, but I don't think he will. I'd love to see, though, Ronaldo and Cavani both start with each other, but it's a matter of which one will play up front and which one will play on the left, or who will play on the right.
Unless we go with a diamond and play the 2 up there, which a lot of people are saying in the chat they would like to see that as well. I don't think we'll switch up the whole system for a Liverpool game. I just can't see that happening. No. Obviously, we know Ole plays a certain way and it doesn't seem to alleviate from that, even though we'd like it to. But yeah, you are right. It seems to be like one or the other at the minute. But me, like you, I'd love to see both Cavani and Ronaldo. We saw it in a glimpse yesterday, but I'd like to see them as a front too. I think it'd just be really good to see that. But I just can't see there being massive changes to the system before a Liverpool game. Yeah. In terms of Pogba, what does worry me if he is playing in that midfield, look, we know that Liverpool will press high. They press as a unit. I'm going to talk about our pressing, if you can call it that, in a minute. But yeah, in terms of Liverpool and their press, like I worry about that because I do think Pogba is one of these players. When it comes off, it looks fantastic, but he's likely to have a few extra touches on the ball, especially in that midfield when he's playing just in front of the back four. If he gives it away there, it's a lot more costly to if he gives it away on the left wing, if that makes sense. I think they'll target Pogba in the middle, and that does concern me a little bit. But in terms of our pressing, I mean, this is one thing that really infuriates me, and this is why I say Ole, tactically, he does deserve criticism. I'm not blind to that because you see us pressing and you've got maybe Cavani will do it, Bruno will do it, Fred will do it, but we do it in ones and twos. We do not do it as a unit. You look at the top teams, City, Liverpool, they press as a team, they press as a unit, and we just can't do that. Now, my question to you is that down to Ole and the coaching staff, obviously not coaching it correctly and not being able to do the press as a unit, or is it down to individual players just not wanting to do the press, not putting in the extra yards? Do you know what I mean? And then you got, obviously, we know the character of Bruno being a leader. Fred, we know, is that tenacity. Cavani, again, is that leader, is that workhorse, isn't he? But not every player is like that. Like, do you guys blame Ole for that, or do you blame individual players? Mais, you can start on that one.
For me, it's really difficult because when you look at a player and they just can't pass a ball from 15 yards, you think, surely you don't need to be coached on how to pass from 15 yards. But then when you look at things like set pieces for one and the pressing for another, and then you're bringing in a set piece coach who's specialising in set pieces and we're still conceding and we're not even scoring from set pieces, you do look at it and think, what is this set piece coach here for? We've got Michael Carrick here. I know he's moved from retiring straight into the first team, and I think I don't think it was the wisest move. I think he should have had that little bit more experience in the youth if he wanted to stay at Manchester United, and then bring him to the first team in several years' time. Because I think from going from a retired player to first team coaching, it is a big step. And you have seen a lot of rumours recently where the players are quite unhappy with the coaching. And for me, I do feel like the coaching does play a big part of that. But when you do look at the coaching, it is Ole who is appointing these coaches. And if he wasn't very not happy with this coaching staff, he could have said to the board, I don't want this coaching staff. I want this, and this person to go, and I want these new ones in. I want someone who can help me with defending. I want someone to help me with the pressing. But we're not changing that at all.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's partly down to the coaching and partly down to Wally in that respect, because he could make them changes if he wants to. And I do think like there has been some very poor coaching skills as well.
Yeah, and obviously we've got a new set piece coach and we all of a sudden are leaking goals from set pieces, which is another questionable one. But yeah, in terms of the pressing, I mean, Alice, when you're watching United, do you feel the same way? Is it frustrating watching every go in ones and twos? Like I said, certain individuals who I feel will do it. And I'm not sitting here blaming players. I'm just asking the question, like, is it down to coaching or is it down to individuals? Because there's clearly, like I say, you watch other teams, someone said it there, Liverpool, City and Chelsea, they do all press in different ways, but I guarantee they press with a system and it's effective. Ours just is not effective at all. If anything, it just creates too many gaps and that's where we become vulnerable on that counter-attack.
I just think it kind of has to be on the coaching because, for the fact it's been an issue for so long. Normally when there's an issue, a coach will pick up and change it and be saying we need to do this. But the fact that like nothing's changed makes it as an issue. With Bruno, he's just going to run around like a headless chicken and he's not going to stop running and he's going to press. But like Ronaldo, Greenwood, you don't see much pressing. Rashford will occasionally press. You don't see that much pressing. And I feel like we don't actually get asked to press them because I feel like what Ole likes to do is his muck Fred, quite deep line, let's counter attack and that. We're not looking for them to make a mistake high up the pitch because we don't play with a particularly high line. And I feel like we're not a tactic to press. And I would love us to drop the 4-2-3-1, try something new, go back to a 4-3-3 if we could, press in, expansive football and all of that. But I just think the way we're coached, I think it all kind of relates because I'm like, I think the players are more than capable of pressing, but they're just not. And again, I think as Mais said something about passing, we can't pass the ball. And I'm like, sure, this is like the most simple skill in football. I've never seen a team as bad at passing as Man United. We give it away so easily and we can't win it back. And I just think that is on tactics again because, I think it was the Everton game and the Leicester game. One thing that really highlighted me was, especially Leicester, all we kept doing was fouling Leicester. Like we kept fouling because we couldn't tackle them. And I feel like it's not just the pressing, but it's the defensive coaching as well. I think there's just definitely coaching issues at Man United because, Carrick's is new to the job. McKenna's new to the job. That they are Ole's friends. And I think Ole's a nice guy. I think, they're not, I heard a story come out saying the players were complaining that they wanted elite level coaches. They're just Ole's mates coaching, and Ole's not going to sack his mates because it's his mate. Like Gary Neville won't expose that Ole's tactics because it's his mate. There's very much mates friendship in the club, and I think when you're at a late football club, the coaching needs to change. And I think, as Pogba said, there's a tactic or something needs to change at the club because what we're doing at the moment isn't working.
Yeah, and I completely agree. George said they're pressing and passing. That's our main issues. It is, isn't it? We pass too slow. I think we are reluctant to play those risk passes at times. Is it because we can't pass it? Is it because we can't play those passes? Do you know what I mean? Or is it because we're scared to play those passes? Because if we give it away, we know that we're kind of in trouble. But yeah, pressing and passing, I totally agree. And I think we moved the ball far too slowly as well. I think the second half yesterday, we've already touched on it. Like we went from defence to attack a lot faster. There was less sideways passes. We were playing more between the lines. There was a few times Shaw got the ball and he's playing between the lines, playing into Ronaldo's feet, into Bruno's feet. We saw a lot more of that. And I think that's what we need to be. We need to be more direct. In terms of Sancho, we touched on him already. I'll say this all the time, but for me, I'm not too concerned. I feel like he will come good. I feel like we're not really playing to his hands at the minute. We're not really suiting him. I was hoping Rashford coming back in will lift his game as well. So obviously, I think Ali said earlier you'd like to see a front three of Sancho, Rashford, and obviously Ronaldo or Cavani centrally as well. I would love to see that, and I do think that might lift them. Obviously, they're good friends off the pitch. I'd like to think them both to be quite direct players, and I do hope that they can kind of form a relationship on the pitch as well. But yeah, Mais, what's your thoughts on Sancho so far and what you've seen of him? Like, are you concerned by it, or do you think that it's just a matter of time until he does actually settle?
For me, it is only going to be a matter of time. I do feel like, especially at the beginning of the season, that I feel like he had a bit of confidence issues. I don't know whether it's because he's moved from the German league and he's come to the Premier League, knowing it's a big, massive step, or it could be from the World Cup and he missed that penalty, and maybe that still is playing on his mind at the beginning of the season. But it just feels like, especially apart from what I did touch on before, where he is moving to try and attack, and then he's like, oh my god, I'll pass it back to Shaw because I don't want to tackle, I don't want to take on this defender. Apart from that, I feel like he has grown in confidence, and I feel like he is getting into the game. And for me, I would personally give him till after Christmas, just see how he's getting on personally. And if, for example, he is starting to get them goals and assists, I can't see there is going to be any worry at all. But if, for example, he isn't doing anything whatsoever and is still getting to this point where he can't even take on a defender, you do need to look at that as well. And you think, why is that the case? Because you didn't see him be like that at Dortmund, so why is he being like this in the Premier League? Is it the confidence issues? Is it the way he's being coached? Is it because he is a bit? Is it because of the front three? Perhaps is it? You don't know, and this is something what we need to establish on further if it's not going to improve by the Christmas period.
Yeah, I think it's one of them. Is it like he's coming to a team that isn't playing well. And obviously, there's a lot of pressure on him already because he's new, and obviously he did so well in the Bundesliga. So he's obviously coming with quite a lot of expectations as well. Me personally, I didn't watch a lot of Bundesliga, so I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, yeah, I expected Sancho to light the world up. I didn't. He's still yet to prove to me as well. I think when he's played for England, he's been in bit part, so he hasn't really again set the world alight, has he? So for me, he's one of them players that I always knew he had great potential, but I never fully expected him to come and just tear the league apart straight away. Like, I never expected that. But at the same time, I kind of sympathise with him because, like I say, he's coming into a system that isn't working. We're not playing very well. We're playing far too slow, which doesn't suit his game because by the time he gets it, the other team's like camped basically, and they're set in. And I don't think that aids his game. I mean, Alice, what's your thoughts on Sancho and how he's started so far at United?
I agree with pretty much most of what you've been saying. I think I'm not concerned. It's early days. He's a young player. He's not. He's adapting to the league. We saw that with Kai Havertz last year. It takes time to adapt. So I'm not concerned. I do think he's growing every game. Like, I think I look at him and I think, I'm seeing things. I think for Sancho, it's just about getting that first goal, you know what I mean, to give him that boost. I think, again, as you said, I think it's just that lacking confidence, to be fair. I think it's more the whole, like, should I take a man on or not? And we started to see him take on a few players on more and more. And I think that's what we want from Sancho. But I think, to be fair, like, the problem is we're not playing well, and it's quite hard to, get involved when you're not playing well. You're not getting up to the ball. You're not getting the ball quickly because Sancho played at a Dortmund side that played much expansive football. Erling Haaland's goals numbers are insane, but he's not going to get those goal numbers at Man United because, we play a different system and it's a less open league. His numbers were going to, of course, be better in Dortmund in terms of goals and assists because of the way Dortmund play. But I think if we played a bit more like Dortmund, he would play better because we move the ball so slowly. We pass sideways so much. We try and do it to what? I think if we played a 4-3-3 and we moved the ball quickly, expansive football, I think we'd see Sancho get a lot of the ball. And if Sancho gets the ball quickly, that's when he can make things happen and, unlock a defence and stuff. And I think the whole thing is, it's like we're not playing good football. We need to move the ball quickly, get the ball to Sancho quickly. And because we know when Sancho's got a bit of space, he can deliver. And I think that's what we're sort of missing from him.
Yeah, I totally agree. And hoping once he gets that first goal as well, it's almost like once you get first goal, it's like a weight's been lifted, and hopefully he can kick on from that and get a bit of confidence. When he came on yesterday, I was thinking, come on, Sancho get a winner, that would be just great. Obviously, Ronaldo gets it, which I'm still buzzing with, but I just felt like a moment like that, obviously it could happen against Liverpool, but a moment like that I think could really set his career off at United. And I think obviously the longer he goes without scoring a goal as well, that pressure kind of builds, doesn't it? So I think if Ronaldo didn't score in his first game for United when he returned, I kind of think, like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people would be building pressure, but the fact he scored straight away, it's going to shut a lot of people up. Like, he can still do it, do you know what I mean? And the pressure's off immediately. Sancho needs that moment. I think he needs that moment, but I'm not concerned about it. I'm sure his time will come. But like I say, I'm just hoping that we can play more to suit him. I think the second half yesterday kind of suited his game a lot more because it's a lot more open. There's a lot more space for him. And we move the ball quicker. And I just think that's something that we haven't done. Obviously, we're going to look towards the Liverpool game. We've touched on our team quite a lot. But looking at the Liverpool side, obviously, we've already mentioned Salah. But defensively, like, do you think we can look at Liverpool and think, you know what, we can score some goals, we can get at them? Is there anyone in particular that you would say is a weak link for them? I'll let you start on this one, Alice. Is there a weak link at Liverpool?
I'd say Trent defensively. We've seen what Rashford's done to Trent in the past, and that's why it infuriated me last season that we played Pogba on the left versus Liverpool last season. Because like you really know what Rashford does to Trent. You know, Trent likes to go forward, he likes to cross, and he struggles against a tricky winger. Would it be Rashford? Could it be Sancho? I think for me, you know, this is like I don't mind probably playing on the left because I think, you know, sometimes we don't get the best out of him in the middle, especially when he plays with McTominay or Fred next to him because they're not a CDM, so he's not free. But I think Trent is that one Liverpool defender that everyone knows that he is defensively the weak link. And, you know, it's going to be hard because if Rashford's not fully fit, and we know that Rashford caused Trent's problem in the past. But if I'm Ole, I'm going attack quick, attack down that right hand side because Liverpool are going to fancy it. They're going to fancy it, of course they are. And Trent's going to get forward and he's going to be involved in that attack. And we need to make sure we move the ball quickly and while Trent's out of position and take advantage of it. Because I think for me, he's the weak point. Like everywhere else, I think Liverpool are very, very strong. And I think obviously Trent's a fantastic player. But I think, you know, with our pace, with our skill, with our attackers we have, he is the weak link.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to be fair, George makes a good point. I don't think Van Dijk has looked amazing so far this season. So Atletico the other day, Griezmann literally turned him, didn't he, with ease. So, yeah, he hasn't looked great. But I do think this is that game, isn't it, where form goes out the window. I know it's cliche, but both teams should be up for it, and they will be up for it. And you've got to win those individual battles. And defensively, I agree with you. I think Trent is very, very suspect, and he's one, especially Rashford, but even Sancho. I think whoever's playing on that side can definitely get at him and cause him issues. And also because his game mostly is going forwards, he should leave gaps in behind. And I think we need our wingers to cheat a little bit and try and stay high if we can. And that's where we should get some joy. But Mais, do you agree with that? Would you say Trent is the one who's the most suspect for Liverpool?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree there. With Trent, he's one of them players like he's so amazing at going forward. He's good at his crossing. He's good at shooting if he wants to shoot. He's good at them assists. But in terms of defensively, he isn't the best. And if he didn't have a very good defender next to him, a very good centre-back next to him, I don't think he would be at all a good defensive in the slightest. Because if you looked at the amount of injuries where Liverpool had last season, you could see the dip in Trent Alexander-Arnold in terms of defending. You could see that it was absolutely awful. So it's like he needs that person next to him as a little bit of stability to look like he is a better defender than what he really is in terms of that defending. So for me, I would definitely say Trent is a weak link in that Liverpool team.
Yep.
And after seeing Van Dijk, because you do look at Van Dijk and you do think, yeah, Van Dijk, he is one of the best centre-backs in the league. Some people will consider he's one of the best in the world. But after the injury, he looked like in some games he does look really good. And then when you look at some other games, you think he hasn't played that good whatsoever. So I'm hoping as well, especially knowing that he didn't have that good game against Atletico Madrid, it might carry over that little bit and then it could help us that tiny bit more to help us get that success as well.
I know Ashley is lying on this one. He said he see me defend better than Trent in regards to my FIFA skills. I cannot defend on FIFA at all. I'm very much in the mindset just trying to outscore the opposition because it's pointless me trying not to concede because I just can't do it. It's just impossible. It's impossible. But I mean, we were talking just off camera saying, you know what, I'd much rather see us beat a team 5-3 than win 2-0. I like an open game. I like, even if we do concede first, as long as obviously we outscore, like I'd rather be entertained as a fan. But it is concerning how many goals we've been conceding, isn't it? I mean, obviously Varane is injured, and of course, he's a massive loss. Actually, I'll ask you about Varane. Like, how do you think he's settled so far? Because for me, he's been like a standout. I mean, Alice, Varane, what a signing.
Yeah, he's been really, really impressive. I mean, his first game, he was thrown in the deep end against Wolves, and he had a lot to do. We kept a clean sheet versus Wolves. I think that was his first game. And we had a lot to do because that is one of Fred's worst games in a Man United shirt. He gave the ball, he could have got about 4 assists for Wolves that game, Fred. And Varane dealt with it quite well. And I think because, you've signed Ronaldo, who's the hype signing, I don't think people are realising that Varane, I actually think it will kind of be our best signing, because defensively without him, we looked atrocious versus Leicester. I think he's a good player, but because he hasn't got the clean sheets, like no one really, it's like watch Varane, like he's a good signing. What I also like about Varane is he moves the ball a lot quicker than Lindelof. You can sort of see where Varane's been coached at elite level, Real Madrid, he's played at the highest level. As soon as Varane gets the ball, he likes to try and move it forward, move it out. I think he's better on the ball. He's obviously got the physicality. I think he's such a loss at the moment. I think, we haven't been amazing defensively, but I think, Varane's been solid, and I think definitely, better player. Better defender than Lindelof.
I want to see him score a goal. Like, I think that we will lose it when we see Varane finally score a goal. But yeah, what a player! Just what a player! He's just absolutely outstanding. It's just for me, he's just so commanding at the back. And when he's not there, I think you miss that presence. Do you know what I mean? He's so calm and assured on the ball. He's a ball player. I think some of his switches of play, he just makes it look easy, doesn't he? He's quick, reads the game really, really well. And not having him in there is a big loss. But look, I think even with Lindelof, with Boye, we've got two very decent centre-backs who are backup. But like I say, Varane, I think he's just so superior, isn't he? That he's obviously a big loss. And I cannot wait to get him back. But it's that time of the show when I'm going to ask you guys what your prediction is for the Liverpool game. And obviously everyone in the chat as well. I want you guys to feedback and let me know what your predictions are. As I've said, I'm going to the game and I don't really know how to feel about it at the minute. But I will never bet against my team. I never bet against United. But I'll obviously save my little prediction. But yeah, I mean, who wants to start? Alice, Mais, go for it. What is your prediction for the game on Sunday? It's a tough one. It's a tough one to predict.
It is. It's a very tough one. I think it is going to be a high scoring game. It's just a matter of how many goals it's going to be. So I think I am going to go with 3-2 as well, because I feel like it is going to be 3-2. I'm going to go 3-2 for us. I know the only game that we did win under Ole at Liverpool against Liverpool, I think it was in the FA Cup. I think that's the only game we did win, and we did do that well. So if we do play on how we did with that FA Cup, I know Liverpool weren't having their best at that time, but we just need to take the advantage while we can. And if we do take the advantage, I feel like it is going to be a high scoring game, and I think it's going to be 3-2. My fingers are crossed.
3-2 to United, I hope you're saying.
Yeah, 3-2 United. 3-2 to United.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear. Alice, how are you feeling going into that one? I'm going to pop up in the chat, see if it helps you guys out as well. But
it's so hard with United because you just don't know what United side's going to turn up. We've done this against Manchester City where we've been awful and we get a result against Manchester City. You just know with United, you don't know what side's going to turn up because this game isn't about form, though. I always find Man U Liverpool isn't always about form. It's about, just because it's such a big rivalry. We're not keeping a clean sheet. If we keep a clean sheet, I'd be shocked. I think they'll score 2. The thing is, if we play depressive negative football, it's going to be hard for us to score. But then I go, you know what? Brentford got a 3-3 versus Liverpool, didn't they? And I'm thinking 2 or 3-3. I'm thinking a high scoring draw, but I'm going to go 2.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that it's an open game. I hope that Liverpool don't think, you know what, we'll do what every other team has done to figure United out and we'll sit part of the buzz and then try and hit them on the counter-attack because I think, obviously, we struggle with that. But if Liverpool come at us and play their normal way, then I believe that we can definitely cause them problems. And yeah, you know what? A lot of people saying a 0-0. Oh, George keeps saying a 0-0. I'm not going to go for that. I do think it's going to be a very tight, but I'm going to have to agree with the 3-2, I think. I think I'm going to go with the 3-2. I do think we'll concede, as you both said. I think we'll concede, but at the same time, I'm just hoping that going forwards, we cause them issues, especially with like the Trent and Robertson pushing on. I'm hoping that leaves some gaps for us to exploit as well. So I'm going to say 3-2 to United. Like I say, I will never, ever bet against my team, especially against Liverpool. I just can't do that. It's just not within me to do it. So fingers crossed, yeah. But you know what? I'll take a 1-0 scrappy win. Ronaldo last-minute winner. Maguire scoring off his arse. I really do not care as long as we beat the Scousers. Genuinely, I do not care how we do it. It's just one of them, isn't it? Like I say, form out the window in a game like this. But it would be nice to be entertained as well, wouldn't it? But girls, it's been an absolutely fantastic show. Thank you Soph. Thank you so much, both, for coming on. Thanks, Soph. Yeah, I appreciate it, honestly. And yeah, like I say, we'll definitely get you back on again. And I hope you both enjoyed it. Mais, I'll start with you. If you just shout out, obviously, your own channel and where people can find you on socials as well.
Yeah, so I've got a YouTube channel. It's called Devils United. It's been set up now for roughly around 2 months. I do it based on both Man United men and women's football, so I touch on both. And you can also find me on Twitter. My Twitter is at 2_MUFC Mais. And thank you very much, Soph, for having me on. It's been a pleasure being on.
Absolute pleasure. You're fantastic at what you do, and obviously I'll get you on again. And of course, the lovely Alice. Alice, thank you so much for coming on again. Hopefully next time you're on as well, we'll all be smiling. That would be nice if we go on this mad run that we're anticipating, hopefully. But yeah, Alice, obviously let people know where they can find you as well. I know you're on TikTok a lot as well. You've got your own channel as well. So yeah, shout out where people can find you on socials.
Yeah, thank you first of all for having me on, Sophie. Pleasure to be here again. Great show tonight. And I'd say go search Alice Talks Football on TikTok and YouTube. You'll find me there, and Alice Talks Footy on Twitter if you want to follow me on there. Thank you.
Yeah, go and make sure you follow both of these. Absolutely fantastic, like I say. Big United fans. Hopefully they'll be on Ladies Who Read a lot more regularly. I know I've been off it, but yeah, I'm back on it now. Back on it with a bang. So yeah, it's been fantastic. So yeah, follow them. And obviously, if you don't follow me already, please go and follow me. Soph Richo on Twitter. Soph Richo with a kiss on the end of it. And obviously, please hit the subscribe button on Ladies in Red. We're heading towards 16k now, so it'd be nice to get that one in it soon. So yeah, please hit the sub button and share the video as well. But until next time, guys, stay positive, keep smiling. We'll see you soon.